Is it possible that the entire fire in America was deliberate? I mean, isn't it strange that most insurance companies stopped fire insurance in Los Angeles just 1 month before the fire? And what kind of fire burns some things while leaving others untouched? For instance, there are trees that the fire didn't even come near, and even stranger, most of the unaffected objects were blue in color. First, let me give you the latest updates so you can understand where the situation stands now. The number of victims has reached 24 deaths, and the burned area has expanded to 38,629 acres. If you don't know, this area is larger than the entire city of Paris. And all these statistics are from just the 6 fires I told you about in the previous video. And this is because there is news about new fires, including the Ventura County fire that started recently. The strange part is that all of this is supposedly caused by the wind. The winds that caused these fires to spread have started to calm down, and they are supposed to be able to control the fires before the winds become stronger again. The weather forecasts have warned them that the worst is yet to come. But how will they control it in the second phase if, in the first phase, the fire spread at the speed of 5 football fields per minute? Even the firefighters themselves won't be able to stand in these areas. The wind will overwhelm them, and as they try to control the fire tornado that has driven them mad and seems unstoppable, an event that happens very rarely, the destruction has become so terrifying that Biden stated it would take tens of billions of dollars to repair the damage. By the 14th alone, the losses had already reached $275 billion. And now, the military is preparing to step in and assist with this crisis. What's suspicious is that there are some strange incidents that make you question the situation. First, the fire is supposed to have been a coincidence, but how did the insurance companies know a fire was going to happen? Large companies like State Farm and Allstate completely stopped selling new fire insurance policies. And last summer, they even stopped insuring 72,000 homes in California. On top of that, they removed fire coverage from the claims section. In other words, if your house burns down, it's not their concern. Quite a coincidence, isn't it? But fine, let's accept their reasoning that fires happen from time to time, and they just wanted to protect themselves. But how do you explain the fact that the Santa Ynez Reservoir, which holds 117 million gallons of water, was found empty? And it remained empty all this time, even though it's one of the most important water sources in the area, an area that frequently experiences wildfires. How could they let it remain empty? This reservoir, if filled with water and used, could have resolved this crisis. And can you imagine that all the water had already been cut off? They claim the water pressure wasn't sufficient, which is why it was cut. This water outage reminds me of the deadly and catastrophic fire that happened in Maui not too long ago. And it's another coincidence that Los Angeles, a city known for its wildfires, suddenly reduced its firefighting budget just 1 month before the fires started. They slashed the budget by $17 million. Strangely, the fire department itself protested, saying, "What is this nonsense? We now don't have the budget to control any major fire, nor do we have sufficient equipment or firefighters." They also said they wouldn't be able to provide specialists to check on homes and ensure people's safety in case of fires. And their warnings weren't baseless, because weather reports had already indicated that wildfires were likely in the region in the coming period. But apparently, this information didn't concern the Los Angeles administration, which continued to make cuts in other areas, including the fire department, where they reduced the budget by $28 million. Even the home strengthening program had its budget reduced by $12 million. And finally, the fire monitoring program was cut by $8 million. Are they intentionally sabotaging anything related to firefighting and fire prevention? Come with me, and let's see what Trump had to say about these fires just about 2 months ago. Trump was in an interview with Joe Rogan and mentioned something strange about California. He said, "I don't understand the governor. The land there is filled with dry leaves, which are an obvious source of fires. And the strange part is, they have water that they could use to wet these areas and prevent fires. We even sent them water from Canada, but they neglect it. Instead, they're throwing it into the ocean." Forget about Trump's speculation for a moment. But what kind of fire burns some things while leaving others in the same area completely untouched? Even more bizarre are these pictures. These photos were shared by people, though I'm not sure if they were taken before or after the fire. But what we do know is that when the video is slowed down, you can see a strange beam of light appearing. It's clear that this beam is the cause of the fire. What is this beam, and how is it capable of such destruction? And during the Maui fires, some people also claimed they saw a similar beam and said it was the cause of the fire. Interestingly, this beam was also shown in an episode of The Simpsons. First, let me show you this image, which I believe aligns closely with what's happening in reality. And everything that happened in The Simpsons episode seems to have unfolded in reality. Wildfires starting in the forests, spreading to homes, destroying everything, and eventually revealing that the cause was a laser beam. Here, we must ask ourselves, what is this beam capable of causing such fires? And could such a thing really exist? Unfortunately, I can tell you, yes, it does exist. Directed energy weapons, DEWs, are a reality. Recently, the U.S. has entered the realm of advanced weaponry through laser beams. This weapon can melt metal, moves at incredible speeds, and is almost impossible to detect. Some versions are completely invisible. Another remarkable feature is that it can operate from very long distances and can be mounted on aircraft or ships. The people who support this theory claim that this weapon doesn't affect objects that are blue in color. For example, they point out how some blue cars were left completely untouched, while everything else around them was destroyed. Imagine all this destruction, yet umbrellas made of blue fabric weren't affected, even though they're just cloth. Isn't it strange that something so devastating could leave such specific things untouched? Strange, isn't it? What's even stranger is that most of the objects left untouched in the Simpsons episode were also blue. Naturally, you might ask yourself, if this was done intentionally, why would they do it? After all, this is a beautiful city. The reason, as some suggest, is that they plan to rebuild it after its destruction. This is the same speculation raised about Maui and even referenced in The Simpsons. What's more curious is that both Maui and Los Angeles were reportedly planned to be part of the New World Order by 2028. They were supposed to transform into smart cities, where all residents would be under constant surveillance. They would control who gets to live there, and essentially everything would be monitored. The key element of this system would be a microchip implanted in everyone, enabling them to access and use technology while ensuring complete control over their actions. What adds weight to this theory is the timing. If they really intended to develop these cities, they should have started long ago. But instead, They waited until they were engulfed in fire. And now, the big question is, who's next? It seems impossible, doesn't it? Half of America is suffering from devastating wildfires, while the other half is battling snowstorms, frost, and deadly weather systems. Some areas are experiencing their lowest temperatures in the last decade due to a deadly winter storm. And now, they're even saying that an earthquake might strike the central U.S., likely along the new Madrid Fault line. This prediction has been agreed upon by prominent figures like Maya Sobi and Layla Abdel Latif, both of whom have hinted that America's downfall may be imminent. All of this adds up to a series of events filled with suspicions, and there's a high chance these fires were deliberate. In conclusion, let me know your thoughts on the matter. Also, feel free to suggest any topic you'd like us to discuss next. Thank you all for your support.